We have a emergency in our country. We have a Supreme Court that we think is about to give a ruling regarding a woman's right to choose that's going to eliminate Roe versus Wade. And that is outrageous. It is wrong, it is disrespectful, and we need to fight back. I am running for governor. I'm running for governor so that the people of Florida have a people's governor again. Because right now we don't. We absolutely don't. Our current governor fights culture wars all day long, every single day, and doesn't care about our housing crisis, doesn't care really about the insurance crisis. I know they're supposed to meet next Monday, but I am very pessimistic about the outcome of that special session. I wish I were more optimistic about it. If I were governor, I would be optimistic about it. But what we're here about today is women. And thank all of you for being here today, especially Anna. And happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
So it looks like the Supreme Court, because of the leak that came out recently, is going to have this ruling that's going to take away a woman's right to choose, which will mean that states become incredibly important because it will shift to states to make their individual decisions about a woman's right to choose. So I was raised with 3 sisters. I'm an only son. So I didn't have a choice about choice. It was made very clear to me early on. That's why I am the only candidate in this race who has already vetoed an anti-abortion bill. That is why, as a member of the state Senate, in the Health Care Committee in 1995, I voted no when an anti-abortion bill came before that committee. And because of my no vote, it died in that committee on a 3-3 tie. Never went to the floor of the Senate. What we're here about today is to announce that when I get elected your governor, I want all women in Florida to understand that if this continues to be the way it is until that election occurs, that I will sign an executive order on day 1 that will be clear in protecting and fighting for a woman's right to choose in the Sunshine State. And I want to read you the most pertinent language from that executive order, and we'll provide a copy to all of you, of course. Whereas the Florida Constitution establishes a right to privacy under Article 1, Section 23, which states the following. Every natural person has the right to be left alone and free from governmental intrusion into the person's private life. That's it, full stop. That's the most important thing this order will say. It'll direct all agencies under the governor's authority to not interrupt any woman's right to choose and make her own decisions about her body and her own health care. That's what I'm announcing today. That's why I need to win, so that women will have somebody in the governor's office that gives a damn about them. And I do. And I will fight for you. And I'll do it with a great representative by my side, Anna Eskamani, who will like to say a few words too.
Thank you so much, Charlie.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charlie. It is always an honor to have you come to Orlando and to meet with our constituents and to fight back against what has been an onslaught on our reproductive rights and on our collective freedoms. And again, my name is Anna V. Eskamani. I'm so proud to serve this district in the state legislature, District 47, home to the city of Orlando, Winter Park, Belle Isle, and Edgewood. And of course, our new district will expand to include Maitland and Edenville. We're an incredibly diverse place to call home. But the one dynamic that has maintained its commonality around our collective values is respecting privacy and respecting the personal decision that someone might make around their pregnancy between themselves, their family, their doctor, and their faith. And no matter what your perspective is in the face of that type of situation, whether you decide to become a parent, choose adoption, or you end that pregnancy, we believe firmly that government should not interfere with that decision, and extreme conservative ideology should not be between you and your doctor. And what we are seeing today in the face of this recent leaked SCOTUS majority opinion is the worst of the worst. It is a complete dismantling of the protections that we have established now for nearly 50 years under Roe v. Wade, meaning that all these fights for abortion access get brought down to the state level, that states become the firewall for reproductive freedom. And Florida, as Charlie just mentioned, has this enumerated right to privacy in our state constitution. And of course, the Supreme Court has become more conservative as of late. And we suspect a lawsuit soon to be filed on House Bill 5, which is the 15-week abortion ban that Florida lawmakers and Governor Ron DeSantis signed just a few weeks ago. And so this Supreme Court has yet to make a decision on abortion, and they will very soon. And so to have a governor who has a plan, who's made a commitment to put into place on day one an executive order to not only solidify the protections established under Roe v. Wade, but to ensure that we will not collaborate with other states who want to criminalize people and their doctors for making a personal decision, that our law enforcement agencies will not work with you to arrest a woman who is making this personal decision, whether she's doing it at a clinic or by herself. Because to be clear, we will see an expansion of self-managed abortion care, and we should not criminalize people who make that decision. And this executive order says clearly that we will not collaborate with any out-of-state agencies to punish women and punish pregnant people for making this personal decision. We will actually use our attorneys, our resources as a state, to protect you, to fight for you, and to fight back against different types of abortion restrictions, not to add amicus briefs to attacks on abortion, which is what Attorney General Ashley Moody has done. And so to set that line in the sand, I think is so important, not just for our values, but also for everyone's freedoms. Because if you read that draft leaked majority opinion, it's not just about abortion. It is tied to all of our collective freedoms, to love who you want to love, to access contraception, to be able to vote. All of that is tied to the rights established by 15 different justices of different political persuasions who have upheld the protections established under Roe v. Wade for decades now. And so for me, as a state lawmaker, it's incredibly important to have gubernatorial candidates who outline a plan to do this work versus just rhetoric. But I also want to add, as someone who worked at Planned Parenthood for 6 years before I ran for office, and as a Planned Parenthood patient myself, that if we strip away these rights, it is not just a healthcare issue, it is an economic issue. I would not be standing before you today as the first Iranian-American woman elected to any public office if I did not have access to contraception when I was 18 years old. I grew up in Orange County, went to public schools. My mom passed away when I was 13 years old. I had no one to talk to about reproductive health, about dating, about intimate partner violence, about healthy relationships. When I had abstinence-only education in my school, I was set up for failure. And it wasn't until I found a Planned Parenthood health center and I walked inside that I felt like I had power and I had control over when to become a parent, over my academic success, and eventually my personal and professional careers. Without those resources, we are setting back little girls for generations, and I refuse to allow that to happen. Abortion is not just about reproductive freedom, it is about having the power to decide your destiny, and it is tied to every other right that we hold dear. And so with that, I want to say thank you again to Charlie for drawing a path forward to defend the right to access a safe abortion and to uphold and recommit all of us to the protections established by Roe v. Wade, to those enumerated in our state constitution, because we have to go beyond the courts. We have to be proactive in fighting for abortion access. We cannot be reactive. We cannot allow the status quo to maintain itself, because to be clear, even today with Roe v. Wade as a law in the land, not every person has access to an abortion. It is very much dictated by where you live, how much money you have, what languages you speak, your documentation status. And so to draw a path forward that is proactive is essential. But then to also have a governor with veto power is critical. because we have to remember that I have Republican colleagues right now who've already expressed solidarity and support in officially, completely banning abortion. And I am taking their word for it, that is what they will do. And so if we don't have a governor to be the veto pen, and if we don't secure enough votes to prevent an override of such veto, we will see an all-out abortion ban in Florida. Governor Ron DeSantis has made that clear alongside other anti-abortion extremists. They are already asking him to expand this upcoming special session to ban abortion. And so we must be vigilant, we must be committed, and we have to find all of our allies at this time. And I'm happy to say that there have been many, especially Republican women, who come up to say that this has gone too far, because majority of Floridians agree that abortion should remain safe and be a personal medical decision beyond political affiliation. So thank you again, and I'll toss it to Charlie to help us get through questions as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Excellent. Great. Superb. Any questions?
Free put out a statement this morning questioning whether voters, particularly women voters, can trust you on the abortion issue, charging that, among other things, you may have appointed some judges during your administration as governor that were not friendly toward abortion. How do you respond to her accusation?
I don't respond to her. I just tell the people of Florida that as a state senator, that as your governor, as I said before, I am the only candidate in this race who has already vetoed an anti-abortion bill with a pen just like this. And I'm the only candidate in this race who, as a member of the state Senate, killed an anti-abortion bill back in 1995. My record is crystal clear. And Ron DeSantis is on the other side of it, and he's dead wrong, Ron. Absolutely wrong.
Can you tell us, Congressman, when you voted in the committee back in '95 to not allow 24-hour waiting period the following year, then you did support one for those 18 and under. For those people who are on the outside looking in and identify you as Charlie the Republican back then, what do you have to say about their trust of Charlie the Democrat now?
Trust me. Trust me. Because you can. And my record speaks to that. As I said, and I'll repeat it again, and this is important, I am the only candidate in this race for governor of Florida who has already vetoed an anti-abortion bill. I'm ready to do it. I'm going to sign an executive order after you elect me your governor on day one after being sworn in, and make sure that your right to privacy will not be abridged by anybody.
Charlie, may I add to
Yeah,
this
please,
as well?
of course.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
So as a lifelong Democrat myself, I actually first registered NPA and became a Democrat in 2010 because I wanted to decide for myself who I was as a person and what party would I identify with the most. And truly what drew me to the Democratic Party was the people, because I was a college student at the University of Central Florida, go Knights, and I was collecting human rights petitions for students in Iran, and I met the college Democrats who were doing voter registration. I felt inspired to join this party, as imperfect as it continues to be. But I think it's really, really important that we don't perpetuate Dem-on-Dem violence at this time. We are dealing with white supremacy. We are dealing with fascists. We are dealing with some of the most extreme right-wing politics right now, where black and brown people are dying, where women don't have access to an abortion, and trans kids are being attacked. And so I really urge our other Democratic candidates to not make this about one another. Focus on what you're going to offer for the future of Florida, because we don't got time for that. We do not have time for Democrat on Democratic violence. The state needs us to get it together and to focus on a plan for the future. If we don't offer Florida voters a contrast, we will not win. This offers a contrast. I have yet to see Governor Ron DeSantis offer us a real plan to solve any problem. All he does is create more chaos and create more problems. And we're here trying to solve those problems. And I want to add, too, that I trust Charlie. I was working at Planned Parenthood when I met with Charlie as a congressman, and his voting record as a member of Congress has been superb on these issues. But I also trust him even when he was a Republican governor, because I was 20 years old when that happened, Charlie, when you vetoed that bill. And I remember being a UCF student, just starting to get involved in politics. My first ever internship was with Suzanne Cosmis back here in Central Florida. We called her Susie K in the office. And I remember when that happened, and I was shocked by it. You know, as a Democrat, as a newly registered Democrat who cares about these issues, who was volunteering as a health center escort at Planned Parenthood, I was shocked, but also grateful for that leadership, for your decision to do that. And the last thing I'll say is, a lot of people ask if Florida is a red state or a blue state. I always like to say that we're a rainbow state, which means we have to build a multiracial, a multi-class, a multi-generational, and even a multi-party to win for democracy, to win for our freedoms. And if you look at my district, I flipped it from red to blue because we won not just Democrats, not just no party affiliation voters, but also Republican voters. And in fact, in 2020, we won 2 precincts that voted for Trump and voted for me. Wow. And I share that because it speaks to how when we offer an alternative, when we're not being petty and just pointing fingers at each other, but actually holding ourselves responsible and trying to solve problems, then not only do we have success, but we improve people's lives, and we're able to build a collective coalition to ensure every person has access to health care, a good paying job, joy, and safety. So happy to take more questions if folks have it.
Congressman, can I
Yeah.
ask you, because you just put out in advance of the special session that we're having on Monday.
Yes, sir.
I'd appreciate any comment you have going into that session about whether you think anything substantive is going to get done. But I know that under your plan and what you've repeated many times in the past, that you lowered property insurance by 10% in the special session that took place when you took office
Right.
in 2007. But it is also true in 2009 that you signed a bill that raised by about 10% citizens' property insurance rates. How do you balance one with the other in saying I'm the hero of property insurance reduction?
I don't say I'm the hero of property insurance reduction, sir. I was the governor of the state of Florida, and we were in a property insurance crisis right at the end of that campaign in 2006. And what's the first thing I did after I got elected? The kind of thing I'm talking about right here. Taking action to fight for the people because they deserve to have an advocate for them. I'm a lawyer. I know how to be an advocate. I know how to persuade people. And that's why I held that special session, and we did drop rates by 10%. And I'm hopeful that Ron and the crowd up there will do that, but I doubt it. And that's why this is such an important race. It's important to women. It's important to consumers. It's important to employees that they get treated fairly and justly and with kindness and given dignity and respect. You all deserve that. That's why I talk about a Florida for all. And that's what I'll deliver when I become your governor in 6 months.
Just as a follow-up,
Yeah.
did we get lucky in not having major storms throughout most of your governorship? Did that help to keep rates down?
We got more than lucky. We didn't have a hurricane while I was governor of Florida. That's a fact. And I went to Israel, and I went to the Western Wall. This is a true story with Congressman Robert Wexler. And there's a tradition there where you write a prayer on a piece of paper and you fold it up and you put it between the stones of the Western Wall. The prayer I wrote and put there was, "Dear God, please protect Florida from adversity and storms. Charlie." And he did. Well, I couldn't do it the next year. That was in 2007. My first trade mission was to Israel because I'd made that commitment during that campaign. But I assigned people, subsequent 3 years, that went and took my prayer and put it in the Western Wall, and we never had a hurricane during my first term as your governor. And I'll pray for it again in the second term.
Congressman.
Yeah.
The political climate is a little sharper now compared to when you were governor.
Yes, ma'am.
And obviously, you previously mentioned you're a lawyer, you're good at persuading people. Do you feel that it will take that much more persuasion now to get some of the policies you want done compared to when you were governor?
That's probably true, but I'm up to the task. I'm ready for it. I'm excited about it. I'm hopeful for our Florida. You know, Florida deserves to have sunshine in the Sunshine State again. We have been traumatized by this governor, and it's been a nightmare, and it's been dark, and we need the light. I will bring the light to Florida again.
Can I speak on property insurance real quick?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. I love that. So at this point in time, we have not seen Governor Ron DeSantis even roll out a plan to deal with the property insurance crisis. And it wasn't until Republicans, actually, in particular Senator Jeff Brandes, pressured him to consider a special session did we even have one. And to be clear, Florida Republicans did not even vote to have a special session on property insurance. The vote failed, and the governor felt pressure to pursue it. And the proclamation he outlined seems to just offer two solutions at this point: tort reform and potentially increasing the rates of citizens. And it is a complex issue, without a doubt, but one of the reasons why we're in this situation today is because our governor has done nothing to address climate change. He does not even use the word climate change, and yet when you look at these insurance companies and their internal communications with shareholders trying to outline their risk, they talk about climate change all of the time. And if Florida does not address substantial preventative mitigation efforts on climate change, whether that's energy efficiency goals, clean energy goals, hardening of homes, especially along our coastline, also incentivizing homes to be built in more dense central parts of the state versus the coastline, we're going to continue to see the property rates be high. We're going to continue to see companies mitigate their risk by charging you more. And to be clear, some of the biggest stakeholders who are also at fault are the insurance companies, who overwhelmingly reject claims. It's almost like their policy to reject claims, and they're requiring you to fix your roof after you have never even filed a claim and you have paid your premiums, and they're not providing you with support to help improve your roof. And so these insurance companies are major political donors. And remember, it's the Office of Insurance Regulation, who's now appointed, used to be elected, now it's an appointed position, and they basically just carry the water for insurance companies, and they're the ones who approve these rate increases. And if you talk to the private sector, they always will pitch, increasing the rate of citizens as a means to wean people off it. And if economic times were stronger, that might be an argument, to consider. But I do think there's a collective commitment right now that doing so is very damaging for consumers, especially those who already are feeling the pinch of inflation and other types of costs. And so we're going to walk into this special session focused on consumer rights, focused on whatever we can do to reduce these rates, and ideally increase the cap funds to provide a cushion for reinsurance programs. But at the end of the day, it's very clear cut right now that Republicans have offered no clear consumer-friendly solutions, while Democrats are. And I think that speaks again to the contrast we're offering to Florida voters, that we're not here to pursue culture wars or to dunk on different people in the state. We're here to actually make every Floridian's life a lot better.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.